that President Trump has said a deal is close, only for the two sides to remain far apart.
No.
What is that?
Sounds like fire.
Today, but this obviously comes just a couple of weeks after a shooting at the White House.
On Truth Social. So Dana, certainly very encouraging developments. Oh my gosh, we just heard gunshots.
Oh my God. Keep on this, guys. I guess we lost. Alex had breaking news on the Strait. We have also breaking news. We heard gunshots live from the White House with our very own Alexandra Ingersoll. We saw her duck and then we lost contact with her. We'll try to get in touch with her soon, but wow. Okay, never had that happen on live television before. So we'll get the updates on that. My team is working to bring details to you live and soon. In the meantime, we'll go.
Wow. As you guys saw there, shots rang out live on air as lots of reporters were reporting live from the White House in regards to the Iran deal, or Iran situation, I should say, because as you guys know, and I covered this yesterday on the channel, Uncle Trump is at the White House, and he was rushed back to the White House along with J.D. Vance, and canceled plans for this weekend to be at the White House. And so everybody was speculating, hey, what is happening? What's going on? What's the plan here? Reports later came out that there was a possible Iran deal that was getting ready to be announced. And so, lots of reporters are at the White House and we're getting ready for that news. And then all of a sudden shots rang out. And that is what you saw there at the very beginning of this video, is some of those clips. People were live on air and bah, 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 bah. And it's interesting because you can always tell the individuals who grew up in dangerous situations versus those who didn't grow up around anything dangerous, because those who grew up in dangerous situations know, bro, you start hearing that, you're not looking around to figure out, what it is. You getting up out of there. Okay. All right. But, those of you that know. Yeah, crazy stuff. Now, good news. Uncle Trump is perfectly fine. Not a scratch on him. He is safe. Okay. But here is the backstory on what exactly happened. And also, before we hop into it, for those of you that were wondering, because I saw the comments under yesterday's videos, hey, did you hear about the gunshots? Blah, blah, blah. Yes, I heard about them yesterday. But typically, right, for me, I record early in the day. Okay, I get my videos done early. Typically, I'm finished by 1 o'clock. So anything typically that happens beyond that time frame, that period, I'm not usually going to talk about until the very next day. I got other things that I got to tend to afterwards. And, every now and then, if I have nothing to do, if I'm not doing anything, of course, I'll drop a video on something that is happening in the moment. But typically, I'm probably not going to talk about it until the very next day because I've already recorded for the day, that morning. So just for those of you that were wondering, I saw the comments. Hey, yo, talk about what's going on at the White House. I saw it, but typically I talk about things the next day. If they hadn't happened, if they aren't happening in the morning, right? So here's the video clip.
Tommy, this is what always happens when we have something like this. I always start to check in on the security situation at the White House, but this is what happened around 6 o'clock this evening. I'm told that a gunman came up near the White House on the west side, what is described to me as Gate 17. This is kind of near 14th Street on the west side of the White House, and came up and brandished some sort of a pistol. We don't know what type of pistol it was, But he then fired toward the White House 3 times. And the United States Secret Service, they returned fire. We don't know how many shots that they got off. And they apparently took the gunman down. Now, sometime in this gunfire exchange, a civilian on the street was struck by this gunfire, and we do not know the condition of that person right now. But the important thing to know is that the gunman who came up with the pistol and was taken down by the Secret Service, and we don't know his condition right now, but he never got inside the perimeter of the White House. And this is according to a senior administration official with direct knowledge of what went down at the White House this afternoon. This was right around 6 o'clock Eastern time.
So, Chad, so if I'm hearing what you said correctly, this was somebody who was just firing in the direction of the White House?
It was something that the Secret Service obviously perceived as a threat. Obviously, we're told that gunfire apparently was directed toward the White House. If you get toward the west side of the White House, and we're trying to figure out precisely where this was, you have the old executive office building now called the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, which is kind of a big complex if you're working from west to east toward the White House. So we know that he was firing in the direction of the White House, and this is the preliminary report from someone who's very senior and would have direct knowledge of this information. Again, a lot of people in town. There was one source that had, questioned me earlier, even before we had this information. There's a lot of motorcyclists in town for the Memorial Day events. They always come for this time, and people thought it might have been, motorcycles backfiring or something like that. There's quite a cacophony of that. But this is clearly someone who came up and was firing at the direction of the White House. And the president, of course, is at the White House today.
Yeah, wild situation. And this is just, it's almost, I don't want to say normal, right? But it's almost like I'm not even surprised, and that's a shame. That is a darn shame that I'm not even shocked by this type of stuff happening. Like, it should be like, whoa, what exactly happened? Shots fired at the White House. Whoa, what is that? Like, I should be shocked by it, but in reality, I'm not. And that's the sad part about all of this. Especially since you see a lot of these leftists saying, whoa, this is fake, this is staged, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, someone lost their life. Some guy lost his life to stage a shooting at Trump. Really? Like, how does that even make sense? Do you think that young man's mother would believe that was fake? I'm sure she would love for it to be fake because her son would still be alive, but like, that's the silly talk, Oh, well, Trump staged another attempt on his life. He staged this again. It's like, what? Staged. Okay, whatever. But, this is what the leftists do, man. This is what the leftists do. They promote violence, and then when violence actually happens, they try to hide their hands. They throw rocks and hide their hands. I also found another thing quite interesting about all of this, and that is this news segment from MS Now, which they just released today, a few hours ago. And throughout this entire segment, it's about 10 minutes long, and I'm not gonna bore you guys with this entire thing. Okay?
We begin this morning.
Oh well, they already started playing. But they never showed who the guy was, which I found quite interesting. They said everything except for showing who the guy was. And for those of you that don't know who the guy was, you saw an image of him at the very beginning right here. That is him. That is the gentleman in question that took shots at the White House and is unfortunately deceased. And I say unfortunately because he's somebody's son, right? As deranged or whatever as he might have been, that's still somebody's son. It's unfortunate that, his mental health took him to that place. But yeah, he is currently in the morgue. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. Check it out.
With the latest on last night's shooting near the White House, Secret Service agents shot and killed a gunman who opened fire near a security checkpoint. The shooting happened shortly after 6 p.m. at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, just a few hundred feet from the White House. President Trump was there at the time, but was, quote, not impacted. That's according to the Secret Service. A bystander was shot during the gunfire exchange and was rushed to a nearby hospital in serious condition, we're told. It is unclear whether that person was struck by the gunman or a responding officer. No Secret Service personnel were injured during the shooting. Sources tell MS Now the suspect is identified as 21-year-old Nasir Best, who had previous encounters with the Secret Service last summer and was ordered to stay away from the White House. Sources say the gunman had a history of mental health issues. Multiple journalists working at the White House Saturday reported hearing gunshots and were told to seek shelter inside the press briefing room. More than 24 shots were captured on video by ABC News as senior White House correspondent Selena Wang was doing a report.
That President Trump has said a deal is close, only for the two sides to remain far apart.
No.
With us now, MS Now White House reporter Jake Traylor.
So yeah, they go on to talk more about it and show other clips and that whole sort of thing. But as you guys can see here, they absolutely never show a still shot of his entire face. They showed him being worked on because it said that they transported him to the hospital and then that's where he died. And they showed him being worked on the sidewalk, but they never showed his face. Interesting, isn't it? Nasir Best said his name and everything, said the whole backstory. Hey, you know, this guy has a history of mental health, blah, blah, blah. You know, he's been ordered to stay away from the White House, the whole nine, but never showed his face. Now, let me ask you this. If this had been, you know, a red hat wearing, you know, the MAGA hat, right? Far right extremist who was, you know, gun toting and blazing people down on the sidewalk, do you think they would have showed his face? 100% would have had a still shot of him. 100% would have shown the guy's face. But because this gentleman was black, they didn't want to show it. Quite interesting, isn't it? Quite interesting. Said his name, which would have been a perfect opportunity to, hey, bang, here's a still shot of the guy. Chose not to. But had he have been white, they most certainly would have. Found that quite interesting. But as always, man, y'all get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Thankfully, you know, Uncle Trump is safe. Hopefully the bystander that was hit makes a full recovery as well. Crazy situation, man. Crazy place, in crazy time in our country, I should say, when, you know, folks like myself aren't even surprised by this anymore. You know, it's pretty sad. But stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.